Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure this morning to welcome up to the chancel a new friend, Amanda Tyler. Amanda is the new executive director of the Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty. And so, Amanda, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. The BJC has been a longtime partner of Wilshire in the amazing work that they do on our behalf up in Washington, D.C. And so I'm excited to be able to spend a few moments here with her. Amanda, many of us are familiar with the BJC. Some might need a primer, and for others, this is maybe the first time they're hearing about the Baptist Joint Committee. I wonder if you could share with us what you mean when you all say that you are a voice for Baptists up in Washington.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Katie, and thank you to Wilshire. You as a church family have been a longtime partner with the Baptist Joint Committee, and many of you as individuals have as well, and we so appreciate it. You know, religious freedom has become almost a buzz phrase, and a lot of misunderstanding surrounds those words. But the Baptist Joint Committee has a long track record, over 81 years now, of working on these complicated issues, and with that experience, we bring a lot of credibility. But our 81 years is a blink in the eye when you look at Baptists as a whole. We have more than 400 years of standing up for religious freedom for all. And that comes out of our own experience as a persecuted minority. And we know that a threat to my religious freedom is a threat to your religious freedom, and vice versa, no matter what either of us believe.
Well, I can imagine that you're very busy up in Washington with the work that you all do, and there's so much in the media and the news on a variety of topics, and we can't be experts on all of them. But I wonder if you could share with us a few that you would think that we as Baptists should know about, and perhaps the work that the BJC is doing in response to those events.
Absolutely. And with the time here, you know, religious freedom seems to be on cable news and in the newspapers almost every day. We can only really skim the surface, so I want to talk about a few things, but I do encourage you to go to our website, bjconline.org. Follow us on Twitter, BJC on the Hill, and you can really learn more in depth. But I want to talk about, I think, three big issues that we've worked on just since the beginning of the year. The first came in January when the president first issued executive orders excluding or limiting travel from some Muslim-majority countries. And, you know, we felt the need to speak out on one particular issue. In the first order, there was preference given for those fleeing religious persecution, but only if the person fleeing was a minority religion in their home country. And we said that we stand with those facing religious persecution no matter their faith. And we carried on a long tradition of Baptists dating back to Thomas Helwys and Roger Williams, who said, you know, religious freedom for all, for Baptists, for Jews, for Muslims, for people of no faith at all. Now an issue that we're working on in Congress has to do with the call of some to change the tax law to really encourage houses of worship and other nonprofit 501c3 organizations to start endorsing and opposing candidates. You know, we have for a long time really supported the role of the church to speak out on issues of the day. We know how important that is, that prophetic voice of the church. And the church really can speak with a lot of credibility because we've been insulated from partisan political fights and candidates, particularly candidate elections. So we are really concerned about anything that would change the law to put pressure on houses of worship to endorse or oppose political candidates. And just this week, we led an effort of nearly 100 religious organizations, including the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, to send a letter to Congress saying we don't need and we don't want a change in tax law to pursue our mission. So that's another issue that we're working on. And finally, our work in the courts. The week after Easter, the Supreme Court will hear oral argument in a church-state case. The case is called Trinity Lutheran Church versus Comer. And if you hear the facts of the case, it doesn't sound much like a religious liberty case. It is the state of Missouri had a competitive grant program that would have provided funds for organizations that wanted to resurface their playgrounds using recycled tire scraps. Where this gets into being a church-state case is Trinity Lutheran Church in Columbia, Missouri, applied applied for that program. And their application was denied by the state of Missouri because they are a church. And the state of Missouri has a constitution dating back nearly 200 years that has had a provision that said no direct aid to churches. This was modeled off of a similar statute from Virginia that Thomas Jefferson wrote, and that Baptists were really at the forefront from the beginning, saying to protect religious freedom, we do not want the church in the state in the affairs of the church, and that means we don't want state funding for churches. And so the Baptist Joint Committee wrote a friend of the court brief in this case, supporting the right of the state of Missouri to say no aid to churches. So this case will be argued in front of the Supreme Court on April 19th. We will be in the courtroom and commenting directly after, and of course watching for a Supreme Court decision likely at the end of June.
Well, as you all can tell, these are very complex cases, and how wonderful it is for us to have you all, the expertise and the wisdom that you bring in upholding those historic Baptist principles for religious liberty. We're so very grateful. Before we close our time, we are entering into Holy Week here as Christians, but in the Jewish faith, Passover is beginning as well this week, a very important time in the life of that tradition of faith. And you are actually already coming up to Dallas. We were lucky enough to grab her while she was here on a trip. I wonder if you would share with our church another mutual connection that we have that they'll be very excited about.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And I am here visiting my family this week. My in-laws, Lynn and Bob Barrett, have been longtime members at Temple Emmanuel, and I know that you all have a long relationship with that congregation. And so we're so pleased here to be joined by my family, my mother, Anita, and my husband, Robert. And we brought our son, Phelps, 2 years old, here this week so that we can be together for Passover. And so many of our friends from the congregation are here this morning as well. So it's really wonderful to be together as a larger religious community this week.
I told y'all she was a new friend, so I hope that you see that now. Amanda, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing the work that you're doing. We look forward to the many years of work ahead.
Thank you so much.